Hi everyone, so before I get into this makeup tutorial, I just wanted to make a quick disclaimer that I know nothing about editing. I am not an editor, so don't come at me on my editing skills. Anyway, I just had to get that out of the way. Today I am going to show you guys one of my favorite makeup looks to do. I have my gorgeous model here, and I call this makeup my comfort zone makeup look. It's just my go-to for any occasion that I have. So I usually start out with just using a makeup wipe on the client's face just to make sure to remove any excess oils. I do, however, ask them if they have any lotions, serums on. Then I just concentrate more on their eyelids. And then I move on to priming their eyelids, and I am using the Urban Decay eyeshadow primer. I have many that I use, but this one is what I had on hand. Next, I move on to the face primer, and depending on the foundation that I will use, that will determine the primer that I will use. So in this case, I am using more of a moisturizing primer because we will later go on with a more mattifying foundation. Next, going in with one of my most favorite foundations, the Estee Lauder Double Wear. I gotta say, I use this foundation on most of my clients. It just works with so many different skin types. It lasts a long time. It helps with shine control. It's a great foundation overall. The only thing you have to remember is to use a light layer of it, and I use a damp beauty blender to blend it into the skin. I do like to blend it down to the neck area, so then the face and the neck look seamlessly blended together. Next, I move on to the brows. I do like to use a pomade, and again, all products I use will be listed down below, but I don't do anything crazy with the brows. I usually just follow the natural shape of the eyebrows as you see here. As you see, I do spend quite a bit of time on brows just because I like to make them look as even as possible. They cannot look exactly identical, but I do the best that I can to make the brows look even. This next step I feel like just makes the biggest difference in brows. I use a little bit of concealer and a flat brush to go underneath the lower part of the brow just to sculpt them more and make them more clean looking, if that makes sense. This step may seem totally unnecessary, but trust me, it has made the biggest difference when it comes to brows since I've started doing this little trick. And moving on to the eyes, no matter what eye makeup look I do, I always set my eyelids with either a translucent powder, or in this case, I use a matte white eyeshadow just to seal in the primer and make sure the eyelids are not tacky and all the rest of the eyeshadows blend in seamlessly. And moving on to the eyes, this has to be my favorite part of any makeup application. I love doing the eyes. This is where my creativity comes out. And recently, I've been loving doing eye looks with using just one eyeshadow palette. In this case, I am using a Nude eyeshadow palette that I discovered a couple months ago, and it has been replacing so many of my other palettes. It's my go-to. It's so easy to use. They blend like a dream. It literally does the work for you. And as you see here, I do a whole lot of blending. With every eye makeup look, I feel like blending is the key to make it look like the eye makeup is effortless, and in reality, I feel like I blend for hours. But blending is key, and you just want to make sure that there are no harsh lines and all the eyeshadows just look seamless. Here I'm taking a clean makeup brush and just going over all the eyeshadows just to make sure, again, everything is blended, there's no harsh lines, you can't see where one eyeshadow begins and where the next one ends. Next, I go in with a small pencil brush and I deposit the darker color to have it more concentrated in the outer corner, and then I go blend it out with a more fluffy brush. You don't want to take a dark eyeshadow with a larger fluffy brush and put it in the outer corner because it then becomes kind of muddy looking. So with the darker colors, my rule is to go with the pencil brush and then blend it out with a more bigger, fluffier brush. And I could have totally cut out these repetitive steps, but I just wanted you guys to see how much work it goes into creating these eye makeup looks. It may look effortless, but it's a lot of work. Next, taking a flat makeup brush, I move on to the shimmery shade. And as you see here, I place it more into the inner corner of the eye and move it along the middle of the lid. And at first I used a dry brush, but then later on decided to intensify the color more. So I did spray a little bit of MAC Fix Plus on my brush and then dipped it into the eyeshadow just to get that more intense color payoff. And again, almost after every step, I use a clean brush just to make sure there are no harsh edges between the matte and the shimmery shades. And again, just going back with the matte shade that I used previously, the darker brown, and just to kind of tie in all the colors together. And now to the eyeliner part. I gotta be honest, in the beginning of my makeup journey, this step literally used to terrify me just to get that perfect wing, especially on a client. You don't want to mess up, but there are tricks I learned along the way. One of them is to have your client look up or more straight ahead with their eyes open, and you can create the wing a lot more easier than them just having their eyes closed. And you may feel intimidated in the beginning because you see here I'm just sort of like freehanding it, but honestly, when you practice it over and over again, especially on someone else, it becomes a lot more easier. And now I love doing a wing liner. I like to encourage my brides and my clients to get a wing, even a mini little wing, but I mean, if they say no, then I'm okay with it. But if you've never had a wing liner done, try it at least once. And as you'll notice here, I constantly tell my clients to look up, look down. This just helps me to ensure that the eyeliner looks even, the wing looks good in place, with their eyes open and closed. So that is why I do that. Next, I have the client looking down with their eyes open, and I lightly just curl the lashes. Since we are going with falsies, you don't need to spend too much time on curling them. Just get a nice natural curl and moving on to mascara. Using a disposable mascara wand, I just put a light coat of mascara on the lashes. Again, I don't spend too much time here because we are using falsies, but just enough to make sure our natural lashes blend in nicely with the falsies. Taking a pair of falsies, I first place it along her lash line just to make sure that they fit okay. I usually do need to trim a little bit of the lashes to fit the client's eye shape perfectly. You don't want anything to be poking them, you don't want them to be uncomfortable, so trim them to fit, and then I will go ahead and place them on her lash line. So I should have cut this part out, but there go my amazing editing skills. So right now I'm just trimming the lashes and just putting a light layer of glue on the lash line itself of the falsies, and then doing the same thing to the second lash. So one thing I used to do was have my clients close their eyes while I put the falsies on, but lately I just have them look down, and I feel like it makes the whole process just so much more easier, less messy. I have them look down, I place the falsies along their natural lash line, make sure the ends are secure. I have them look up, look down, make sure nothing is poking them, nothing is hurting them, because there is nothing worse with having a pair of falsies and they just being super uncomfortable all day long. And I know at first lashes can be super intimidating to put on, but with years of practice, with many clients and trial and error, it does get easier and it literally becomes like second nature. Next, taking my makeup wipe, I wipe off any fallout from the eyeshadow, or if you need to perfect your eyeliner a little bit more, this is your time to do so. But of course, there's always going to be a little bit of fallout from the eyeshadow, and this is your time to sort of clean up the area, and I'll be moving on to the concealer part. First, I go in with the brush, placing the concealer where I want it to go, and then I blend it out with my damp beauty blender. This just ensures that there's just seamless application. It doesn't look cakey, looks nice and smooth underneath the eyes. And also depends on the client. I will sometimes use a moisturizer, but for her skin was fine. She didn't need it, so I just went straight with the concealer. Next, I'm going with a little bit of spot concealing to the areas that need a little bit more attention. And I always start out more lighter. You don't want to use a heavy hand on this step. You don't want anything to be looking cakey or heavy. And always remember to pat with your beauty blender. You don't want to be rubbing with it because it starts to rub off the makeup. So just be gentle, tap it, don't rub it. And as you see here, I'm just adding a little bit of concealer at a time. Again, I don't cake it up all at once and try to cover it up. I put a little bit, step away, look at it. If I need to go in with a little bit more, I can do so. And whatever is left over on my beauty blender, I like to blend it down the neck again, so the neck and the face all look the same color. There's nothing worse than that line of demarcation. You'll know what I'm talking about. And before I go in with any contouring, I do first like to set the under eye area with a little bit of powder so that can just start to set in, and then I'll move on to the rest of the face later on. I'll be honest, cream contouring is fairly new to me, but I've been really enjoying doing this step. Maybe it's an extra step, but I just feel like it just brings out the warmth so much more than just powder contouring, which I will later on still go with powder contour, but I just kind of place it along the cheekbones, the hairline, the jawline, and just a little bit by the nose. And same thing as I did with the foundation and concealer, whatever product is left over on my brush, I did go by the neck area, just again to blend everything and make everything seamless. As you see here, I still like my contour to look really natural. Even the nose area, I still do it very naturally, nothing harsh. I know it's crazy in style to have crazy sharp contour, but I'm not about it. Next, going in with either translucent powder, or in this case, I am using a blotting powder, and I dust it all over the face, but I mainly concentrate it more on the center of the face before I go in with the powder contouring. Next, using a denser brush, this one is from Real Techniques. I am using a little bit of powder contouring just to sort of, again, going over that cream contour. And again, this just ensures the longevity of the makeup look. You do want the makeup to last all day, and I feel like this step has been the biggest game changer for me. This step is a total overkill, but I just decided to give her more of a pronounced cheekbone area, so using even more of a dense brush to kind of sculpt those cheekbones. Having her look up, I will now take a flatter brush and finish off her eyes. I sometimes will use pencil liners, but for her, I wanted to keep it soft and natural looking, so I used the darker brown from the palette on her lower lash line to bring the whole look together. And to brighten up the inner corner a little bit more, I'm taking the lightest shimmery shadow from that palette and placing it on the lower lash line, but more towards the inner corner. Here, I decided to take a little bit of a matte black eyeshadow and smoke out that wing liner a bit. Again, this was last minute, it's not necessary, but I kind of been enjoying how it looks in photos, so we just did it. Using that same disposable mascara wand and whatever's left over on the brush, I have her look up and just place a light layer of mascara on her lower lash line. Now that we are done with the eyes, I move on to the blush. Again, everything I use is listed down below. This is my most used MAC blush. I'm in love with it. I've hit pan on it many times. So I just kind of go on the apples of the cheeks and again, just blend it all out, not to make it looking harsh. And now moving on to the highlight. The biggest tip that I can give you with highlight is to use it with a damp brush. I know it sounds crazy. You don't want the brush, soaking wet, but either wipe it against your makeup wipe or spray a little bit of MAC Fix Plus on it and then dip it into your highlighter. and it will change your highlighting game. It is such, I mean, look at that. Yeah, speechless. Moving on to the lips, I usually do this step in the beginning, but we got carried away just chit-chatting. But I use a little bit of ointment on the lips before I apply the lip liner. I feel like it makes my lip liner go on a lot smoother than if I would just do it on lips without the ointment on. I don't do any crazy overlining of the lips. I kind of just follow their natural lip line. I just feel like it gives such a beautiful natural effect to the lips. But again, it's up to the client's preference. I kind of do whatever they ask me to, but in her case, I just followed her natural lip line with the lip liner, and then I'll go in and fill it in with the lipstick. We decided to go with a nude lip to complement her eye makeup. My biggest tip with that is look for a nude lipstick that suits your skin color. I wish there was a nude lip color to match, everybody, but there are ones that will wash you out. Some will complement your skin tone more than others. So just try it out, trial and error, and see what works best for you. This step is totally optional, but I decided to pop just a little bit of gloss in the center of her lips. This is more for picture purposes. I feel like it looks really beautiful in photos, so we just decided to do that. So this is where I took a step back and decided just to add a touch more blush. When you have your eye makeup done, your lips done, then you can kind of see what needs to be adjusted, what needs to be added, if anything. So that is why I always like to start out little by little and just add on more to the look as I go. And the final reveal. When people ask me what is my favorite part about what I do is, this is it. When I give my client a mirror and they take a look at them and they're smiling ear to ear, there's nothing better. So that is my favorite part of what I do. And this is the final look. I really hope you guys enjoyed watching this little tutorial. Hopefully you guys learned a tip or two. Let me know below what you want to see more, what you want to see less of, and if you actually learned something, let me know also. And of course, with any makeup look, I use a little bit of setting spray to set the makeup in place. And thank you so much for coming by and watching this, and hopefully you'll come by again. Bye.